Do you know where you put your money? It can either make you or break you. I have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last couple decades with different investments I've done, different things I've tried, but you know, there's something interesting about every time I've lost money. I have gained perspective and I've also gained knowledge. You see, those losses, although they sucked at the moment, they taught me something that was vital to me taking that next step. And you know, that's really the case in life. You can't get where you want to be without failing, without losing. And those losses and those failures are exactly what we needed, what I needed to get to the next level, because that's what prepared me. That is what taught me the lessons that I didn't know prior that I now do. And that lesson is what we're going to talk about today. In 2003, I took a job as a financial advisor. And it was not something I was educated for. It wasn't something I ever thought I was going to do. It was just a necessity. I needed money. And when I got into that business, I learned a couple things about selling. I learned how to sell financial products. And that's exactly what they taught us. Make no two ways about it. Most financial advisors, their main job is to sell you a product. And that product is not always in your best interest. But the advisors, and in no disrespect, okay, because this is not every advisor, but it is most of them, the advisor will typically tend to push the product that pays them the most. I know this because I was taught to do this. And I literally was so brainwashed by what they taught me, by what the consultants taught all of us advisors, that I would go out and I would help my clients get into these financial products. And I thought they were the greatest things for the clients. But you know what? I later learned that they were not. We would be sold on these concepts, these ideas like the efficient frontier or the variable annuity benefits of the bonuses and how far that put the client ahead, but really it put the client behind. And I watched this during the Great Recession. When the Great Recession happened, I watched my clients' portfolios plummet. And there was nothing I could do because everything that I had been taught literally told me that that couldn't happen. In 2008, it broke the mold. It broke the efficient frontier. It broke all the rules that we were taught to believe in. And you know what? That was the lesson. Because the market crash, the breaking of all these concepts, all these sure things is exactly what we needed to understand how to take the next step for the clients. And you know, there was an epiphany moment, a moment where I realized everything I'd been taught by the consultants of the firms that I worked for, everything I'd been taught was bullshit. It was literally set to make the company the most amount of money. And it was set to make me the most amount of money because if I made more, the company made more, and I would continue to keep doing what they told me to do. And how I did this is I started seeing patterns. It seemed like every month there was a new flavor of the week, a new product, a new thing that they wanted us to push. And you know what? I was just a trained salesperson. I did it. But then one day I just woke up and I saw it differently. I woke up and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Now, this was after about 14 years with a firm. I was one of the top 3 advisors in this area for that firm. I was crushing it. And one day I woke up and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to work for this company anymore. I don't want to work in this capacity anymore. I wanted to go out and I wanted to do what I saw other investment managers do, fiduciaries that I respected in the industry. I wanted to do what they did. But it was going to cost me again. So remember earlier I said I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's just my own personal investment mistakes. But I've also lost way more than that. Because when I decided I didn't want to be part of this, I didn't want to be part of this sales engine for this firm I was with, I literally had to cut all ties. And I'll never forget it. There was a Saturday in summer that I rented a U-Haul. I did it on a Saturday because I figured nobody would be at the office. Nobody would be coming to the office on a Saturday because nobody ever did. I backed the U-Haul up to my office and I started loading all my stuff out. And then my partner in that firm showed up. What's the luck of that? And I had to tell him at that moment that I was leaving the firm. I was going independent. I was going to go work for a small boutique. I wanted to try something new. To which he didn't understand. He's like, you're going to give up your pension. You're going to give up your NILIC. And there's all these additional things, these little hooks that firm had in you. Oh, you had a pension. You had health insurance. You had NILIC. NILIC was like a a pension you got paid while you were working. Like most people would never walk away from that. I was literally going to walk away from about $300,000 a year and before I get out of bed money. What do I mean by that? I mean, before I get out of bed, that's about what I made. Between $150,000 and $300,000, give or take. I know that's a big swing, but I'd have to sell some things to get to the 300, but definitely 150 grand easy before I got out of bed. And that's what I was walking away from. Just one afternoon, one U-Haul, I was leaving it all behind. And you know what? I was doing it because I knew my future would be better. I knew it would be better for my clients in the future. And I knew that I didn't want to end up like all those other guys because I'd seen that side of it. But again, what did that cost me? What was that obstacle I had to get over? What did I have to do from a mindset standpoint to prepare for that? And I thought I had prepared, but nothing I could have done mentally to prepare, nothing I could have done financially to prepare would have prepared me for what came next. Because what came next is when I did make that change, I was so excited. It was a fresh start. It was a blank canvas, but it was also one of the most trying financial periods of time in my life. I went from making $300,000+ a year on Easy Street, 600 clients, to no clients, to starting over, to having to repaper all of the clients that I was bringing over. I made $40,000 and I couldn't pay my bills. I couldn't make ends meet. I would go out and do side jobs. I'd go out and do roofing jobs and landscaping. I actually started a landscape company. And also I started doing more in real estate. Every single day, your money is losing ground. Inflation is eating your savings. Debt is draining your income. And the financial system, it was never designed to work for you. But there is a way out. And the wealthy have known about it for decades. I'm hosting a free live training where I'll show you exactly how to eliminate debt like the wealthy do, how to preserve and protect your capital from the forces working against it, and how to build a clear step-by-step path toward true financial freedom. No gimmicks, no fluff, just a proven system that puts you back in control of your financial future. Seating is limited and it is completely free, but you need to act now. Click the link below or scan the QR code to reserve your spot today. The wealthy don't wait, neither should you. Now let's get back into the video. You see, that change forced me to think differently. It forced me to go out and do the things I was normally not willing to do. But now, because of essentials, I had to do them. How many of you can relate to that? How many of you have ever been in that place where you're so hard up that you will do anything? Well, let's be real about anything, but you will do almost anything to not feel the pain, to not have those financial struggles. That's where I was. And that was really hard because I used to make a lot and I went to making not enough. Just overnight. One decision that I made. But here's the thing. That decision I made is what set me up for the success I have today. So that pain, that suffering, that lack, those obstacles are why I'm successful today. And that is a really hard thing to grasp. It is a hard pill to swallow for anyone. So now I'm in this new capacity. I'm a fiduciary, working for this boutique RIA. I still had a lot of other things going on. I was still snowboarding. I was at the end of my professional snowboarding career. I had just sold my retail stores. I had sold my strip mall. So there was a whole bunch of other things going on. And also, I was getting into real estate. Now, this was pretty interesting because getting into real estate when you're financially struggling is normally not what most people would advise you to do, but that was just the way it all worked for me. So when I got into real estate, I had to bring partners into the deals. I had to learn how to raise private money. I just had to learn a whole new skill. But again, I was not forced, but I was kind of pushed into this because I needed to find additional ways to make revenue. And that landed with one idea, a worthy idea that changed the entire way I thought about things. And the idea was I needed a TV show. I know that's crazy, right? But I needed to have that presence because I knew, because I'd seen many, many speakers on stages, and they all had that one defining moment in their life that set them up to be on that stage, that made it so that people like me at that time wanted to listen to what they said. And I remember I looked over to Larissa and I said, if we're ever going to get on that stage, we need to have our own show. Now, I knew a thing or two about filming. We used to make videos with my shops, so I knew what was necessary. We had to create a sizzle reel. We had to create a pilot that we would then send off to the networks, and that's exactly what we did. We set out on that path to get our own TV show. Now, this is something that I know is kind of woo-woo or foo-foo, however you want to say it, but I had that worthy idea. And nothing, I mean nothing, was going to stop us from getting to that goal of having that show. And we had a lot of fun with it. I'll never forget the property we started, 665 Hopkins Road, right here in our hometown, was the house we were going to film for that sizzle. And I brought all my skateboard friends in to kind of do the demo, and we build ramps through it. The mix was, it was Jackass meets Flip or Flop. That was the concept. And I thought, oh my God, everybody's going to love this. Well, I loved this. Everybody I told about, the show loved it. But when we sent it off to the networks, they're like, well, this is a little too different. This isn't really what we were looking for, which was another big obstacle, a big shock. Because I'm like, oh my gosh. But that was okay, because I learned, and it was costly, but we course corrected, and I found out, here's the box that we need to fit. And I found that out because a producer told us, we need to fit in this little box in order to make that show work. Now, I don't like being in boxes. I've never been an in-the-box kind of guy, but you know what? Sometimes when you got a worthy idea, you got a big aspiration, sometimes you need to kind of just blend and just play within the rules for a little bit, and that's what we did. And that's how we landed the pilot show on HGTV for what we called Risky Builders. That was the name of our show. And you're welcome to look it up. Just go to Google, type in Risky Builders, HGTV, and you will see what we created. And it was an awesome accomplishment. Even though the show never went on, it was a massive accomplishment. But there's another thing that happened, and I do want to talk about this because it's really important. When we got in the limelight, let's call it, when we were, kind of well known in this area, all the news stations had covered the TV show. It also, you would think that's a good thing, but it also brought out about a lot of bad things. A lot of bad people came into our life who wanted to attach themselves to us because we were on our way to getting this TV show and we were going to be celebrities and blah, 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 blah. And everybody wanted a piece of that. And at that time, we're like, yeah, let's do this and let's do that. And we met a lot of really bad people. And those bad people cost us a lot of money because they screwed us over on things. Now, I'm not going to get into the details, but I like to say, when you go up the flagpole, this is what was said to me, the higher up the flagpole you get, the larger the target on your ass gets. And we started to see that. And people started scamming us out of things. We had contractors who we hired on to do these jobs, and they literally would just take money and they just disappeared. 2 roofers, back to back, stole $10,000+ from us. Never put the roofs on. We won the lawsuits, but I never got a nickel from it. So when you talk about the glories, you also have to talk about the negatives. So it wasn't just contractors, it was also other people that we got in business with. People that wanted to come in and partner on bigger projects. And we got screwed on those as well. So it was just like one hit after another hit after another hit. I left the firm, the comfort zone. I left there because it wasn't the life I wanted. I felt pain and I had to relearn. I found my way into real estate. We climbed the real estate thing and got the TV show, which brought about a lot of other risky folks into our lives, people that just wanted to take from us. And they did, and it cost us a lot of money. And it brought us back down. You see, in life, you're going to have these roller coaster rides. You're going to have these difficulties. And then I could even keep going with that. As we started having more and more success after the TV show, I started having success within the infinite banking concepts world. I started meeting other people that all sounded great. And a lot of those people screwed us there. I invested money in different real estate funds and different syndications, and they went belly up. Money gone, evaporated. There's no easy way to handle those things. There's no thing that's going to make you feel good about it. It's not like you're going to wake up one day and be like, oh, I just learned a really important lesson. I'm glad I learned that. I'm glad I lost $100,000 on that deal. And that was great. Never will that day happen. But you know what? A year, 2 years, 3 years after it happened, the lessons we learned because of the losses that we faced did teach us and made us a lot stronger, made us a lot more guarded, helped us learn how to do better due diligence on people, and also, I hate to say this, but forced us to put up barriers and boundaries. And they have served us very well because now the circle is very small, but it is very tight. And those are some things you have to learn as you climb the levels of success. Because the levels of success are always met with levels of failure. How big are the failures? Well, it'll be different for every single person. I feel like my failures have been really big. I feel like those pits and valleys have been crazy. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it's all part of the journey. It's all because I had to learn something to get to that next level. So now, write this down. Invest in things you know, like, and understand. So all of you have things you know, like, and understand. But make sure you don't kid yourself about, oh, I do understand that. Do you really understand it? Do you understand the use case of what the investment is? Do you understand everything there is to know about what it is you're investing in? Which is why today, you know what I invest in? Myself, my businesses, my team. Because I know, like, and understand those things. And I've just learned by reading Napoleon Hill, by reading Earl Nightingale, and so many other things that I've studied. You're always going to be your best investment. So invest in yourself. You are the golden goose that lays the golden egg. Invest in the goose. You are the goose. So that's what I do today. Now, do I invest in other things? Yeah, but they're pretty boring. And you know what else I did? I read a book. I think all of you should read this book. It's called Profit First. Motorboat Mike is kind of the nickname for the author. And I read this book multiple times. It is a very, very simple book, but it breaks down some simple things. And let me just kind of talk about what I did. In my businesses, I used to have pretty much one bank account. Now, we had lots of bank accounts, but I had one bank account for all operations. Profit First essentially came in and said, create separate segregated accounts for different things you want to do. Create a tax account. Create a Profit First account. Always pay yourself quarterly, at least quarterly, the profits. I'd never done that, right? So you own a business and you always make it feel like, all right, well, I'll take money when everybody else is paid. But you see, the book set me straight. That's wrong. Because if I didn't feel like I was being rewarded for my efforts, for the proprietor of the business, then why would I keep pushing? I would just get frustrated. And I did this for years and years and years with my snowboard and skateboard shops. I paid everybody else first. And whatever was left at the end of the year, that was the little scraps that I took. But I always felt like nothing was good, that I wasn't successful, that it was just a struggle. And I sometimes didn't even want to go to work. So what I did then is I just said, all right, every quarter, we're going to take profits. We're going to keep reserves. We're going to keep a war chest. We're going to keep a tax account. So those are my three. I got reserve account. So that reserve account, now write this down if you're a business owner or even if you're just looking to kind of get ahead. My reserve account is just money that I keep in an account that would cover me for 3 to 6 months of expenses. Baseline expenses. Cover payroll, cover utilities, cover the mortgage, cover all the baseline things. Now, if it's not in business, it could be in your personal life. That's your reserve account, okay? And once the reserve account is met, I move on to the war chest account. Once a quarter before I take profits, we look at how much there is in profits, and we take a certain percentage of those profits and we put them into what's called a war chest. So what is that account for? That account is for growth. When I want to acquire another company, when I want to push deep into a marketing campaign that's working, when I want to try something new, do a new company or a new incubator startup like a tech company like I have done, that's the account that I go to. But you see, I have to put money into it every quarter and it just builds and builds and builds. And you know, as it builds, you got to be firm enough with yourself to not just go in and take that. And the last account that I do, because this is an account that always crushed me, is a tax account. Because most of my companies are pass-through entities, I'm not going to get into that. I would always find myself, when taxes came due, behind the 8 ball. I never seemed to have enough. The accountant would figure out how much in taxes. I did my estimated taxes, but then for some reason, there was always this chunk that I owed and I never had it. So that was defeating. I felt like I was a failure. I felt like, oh, everything I made, I'm just going to pay to the IRS. So what I did is I created a tax account. And we put more than enough in the tax account. Now that account is in my name, it's in my account, it's on my balance sheet, but it's just another account that before I take profits, money goes into that tax account. So again, a reserve account, 3 to 6 months of basic expenses. A war chest account, a percentage of profits. For me, it was 20 to 30% depending on what I was feeling. And I could change it anytime I wanted. And that was my opportunity fund. And then my tax account. My accountant would give me my estimates. I would add 20% to those estimates and I would just put that in the tax account. Because you know the best thing is At the end of the year or during tax season, when your CPA says, hey, this is how much money we're gonna owe, and you look at your tax account and there's more money in there than what you actually owe, do you not feel like you won? You do. And all it took was just separating all this. But you know the best part about Profit First, and the one thing that I've never ever not done since I read that book, is every quarter, I take profits. So every single week of every single month, I know that at the end of that quarter, whatever I and the team and the company produces, after reserves, after war chest, after taxes, that amount is my benefit. That is my reward above and beyond my salary. And you know what? I work really hard to maximize those because it is like setting a high bar goal, a goal that you're chasing, and you're chasing it for 3 consecutive months over and over. And at the end, the reward is you get a big check. And what do you do with that check? Well, that's all up to you. You invest in things you know, like, and understand, which for me, again, I invest back in my companies. I have started a whole bunch of different incubator companies that have all been very cost heavy in the beginning, but I know that the future, and it's a future I can control because a business that I start in something I know, like, and understand, and something I understand the use case, I know where that will be in 2, 3, 4 years. I can control my destiny. Where when I invested in other people's things, other people's dreams, other people's investments, I didn't control that. And that's where I always found myself in trouble. In closing, I want to preface one really important thing. The goal is not no risk. If you go through life trying to find the path with the least amount of risk, you are taking the most risk. Because the risk is your dreams will never happen. The risk taker, who everybody thinks is the one who takes the most amount of risk, arguably takes the least amount of risk because the path they're on, taking the risks, very few people take that path. And they don't take that path because it scares them, the fear of it. But you know what? If you've ever heard of red ocean versus blue ocean, that's the blue ocean path because there's nobody else that you're competing with. So therefore, the risk takers are the ones who take the least amount of risk because so many people on the other side, the conformity side, the thing that happens is they get stuck by paralysis, by analysis. They overanalyze things, they overthink things, and then eventually they do absolutely nothing. They let other people come into their life and tell them not to do something. Oh, that's too risky. Listen, it's only risky if you don't know what it is you're doing. If you don't know your goals, your worthy idea, that's the only risk. Outside of that, persistent and consistent action will take care of the rest. You may fail, great, and you'll learn and you'll continue to be persistent in your actions. And you will succeed. No ifs, no ands, and no buts about it. Success is the only outcome. And the obstacle is always the way. You should read that book as well. Things right now are moving really fast. And the answer is not to stop moving. The answer is to continue moving forward, but with a filter. Think of it as your blinders. You ignore all the noise and you focus solely on where you want to be. And when you do that and you wake up every single morning and you recite and you tell yourself where you're going, what it is you're building, your mind will only give you what you think about. But if you allow fear to come in, if you allow conformity to come in, if you allow other people to get in the way of your vision, well, you will deviate from it. And you very well may never ever get to the end of that path that you're so passionately chasing right now. And as we close this episode out, I do want to say, if you like anything that's been said here, throw me a subscribe down below. Click that subscribe button. And also there's a little bell. I need you to smash that bell so that you're notified every single time we go live. And we do that 6 times every single week. So smash the bell and we'll notify you every time we're going to go live. I hope you've enjoyed this little journey. I can't wait to hear about yours. And also, while you're at it, check this video out right here, Secrets of the Rich. It will teach you how to change one thing and add one step that will change the rest of your financial life. Thanks for joining.